We have BenCB789, who is not only the most winningest player online tournaments the last 3 years, he has also created a program called Raise Your Edge, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but we have him here live on the phone via Central European time. He's somewhere in Europe. It's hard to keep track on him, but Ben, how's it going today?
Hey, great, man. Glad to be here.
Where are you exactly today?
I'm in Vienna right now.
Okay, very nice. Well, I could butter you up, keep telling everyone how great you are, but let's dive into some hands. Let them search you on Google and can verify this. And I've been working with your program, Raise Your Edge. I'm a huge fan of it. It's unbelievable. A lot of content, which we'll dive into here and there along the way. But for right now, let's pick up a hand that we played at this most recent WCOOP. This was the 215 Zoom that got over 2,700 entries, and here we are at a final table. And at the time, we're down to, let's see, 6 players, and it looks like we were the shortest stack. So this was a tough spot where I actually time banked for a while and I knew it was really close, but these are the type of situations at the final tables where the money's huge. The ICM is very important. You want to be as comfortable as you can, and sometimes it's not. There is a science to it, but on the fly without being able to plug stuff in, it's a little bit of it's a spot you want to really be familiar with and try to know the most you can. So let's look at this hand. I want to get your thought process. We can plug in some numbers, see exactly, but what's your initial instincts here? As let's play. Maybe I should just play through the hand, and you can kind of tell me. We can pause it and see what you would, how you would proceed, or what your thoughs are on my play. So let's see. It said blinds are 700K, 1.4 million, and it looks. So I'm the shortest stack at this point, and we have a raise from the big stack under the gun, who min raises, and it's basically one of those things we realize. If we go all in, we're going to get called here. We just don't have full equity. So it's kind of, the question is now, what hands should we be going with? This is very interesting because there is several differences. If let's say we had the 12 million stack or the 14 million stack, but we are the shortest, so our risk premium does go down. And I'll kind of let you talk about what your thoughts are here in this hand, and if you're me, what you would do.
Yeah, as you just mentioned, if we are the shortest stack, our risk premium goes down. So we are in the situation where we have the most incentive to kind of like start gambling, like quote unquote gambling.
Right.
So it means that if the spot is marginal, you rather want to take it, because if you approach it from a more logical standpoint, it will be really hard for you to find a really profitable spot in some of the future orbits or even like future hands. So, I mean, ace-5 suited, the most important point here to consider is that the chip leader is open raising, which is great. Let's say one of the 20 million chip stacks would open raise, I would really hate my life. I would really, really hate my life, because he's on a much tighter range than the chip leader. The chip leader can easily open hand like ace deuce off, like king 3 suited, 10-8 suited, because he has all the short stacks behind, and they will get it in with a very tight range. And what you have to take into account as well, he's technically playing from the button. It will not happen that the hijack, the cutoff or button will flat call him. So when a post-flop situation will appear, he will play in position. That means against the blind, which makes him open raise more hands automatically if he's aware of that. And since he's regular, since he plays these stakes, I think he will be aware of that. So for that reason, he will be on a much wider range, and I feel actually pretty comfortable getting it in with ace-5 suited here. I think I would forward ace-3 suited, but yeah, I would definitely also have tanked for a while, because it's not like that we are completely out of game. If we double up once, we are fourth in chips, and every single time when once you double up, you're back in the game, you still kind of want to not gamble too much. I mean, it sounds very general, but this is basically just the theory behind it. And we're gonna show you, we're gonna present you the numbers in a second real quick.
Let me just say, if we had like 12 million though, would this be, considering you have full equity, would you be with the ace-5 suited? Do you think if you had the 13 million, 14 million stack, would this be a good 10 blind jam over that open because he's opening wide? Or do you still, at that point, do you think it's just better to be tighter because the pay jumps are huge? What would you do if you had 13 or 14 million here?
It has nothing to do with the pay jumps, like the pay jumps being huge. I mean, they shouldn't really concern you. It's just about the relative pay jumps, right?
Right, that's what I mean. I mean more
okay,
so,
all right,
that's
okay.
what I'm saying. Like the fact that because the other Rovo Dice and PIU Amira are right at the same juncture as you, so you want to be tighter, obviously, in that spot. But would that be a hand that's not good enough, ace-5 suited, with that stack?
No, because I think we still have too little fold equity, and also we are even with the other even with the other short stacks, and there's still the likelihood that they will bust in front of us. But now we are the short stack. Polymera and Rovo Dice both have the incentive to wait until we bust and to win the folding war. So it will be less likely that they will bust before us. That means we're in the situation of doing something. And when we have 8 million, but with 12 million, 13 million, I'm definitely folding ace-5 suited.
Okay. So we're going to look at those numbers but your instinct with ace-5 suited, this is sort of borderline, but you would go with it in this spot if you were playing. You think this is a fine to go with?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think you're in a really, really fucked up situation, and yeah, I would definitely go with it.
Okay, so we're going to take a look and plug in, show you how you can kind of evaluate that more. Let's just play the hand out so we see what happens. So we do end up going all in, and Ida Predator ends up calling it off. As we expect it, really no hands. He's going to be raised folding to our stack there. And he did have king 9. So we did get it in ahead, slightly ahead, and he made a nice full house there. But, like, again, if we win that hand, we have 20 million and we're in it to win it. So instead of folding for an orbit or two, maybe the other players that are around our stack also waiting for us to bust. So I think this, we got it in slightly good to be back in the tournament. So I was happy. I thought it was a fine decision. It was a very shallow tournament at the end. Based on this Zoom format, you can see, there was guys with 9 blinds, 10 blinds. We had 6, even 19 blinds, and then 34 blinds was a chip leader. So, yeah, I think unfortunate result, but to me it seemed fine. So let's take a look a little more in depth at how we can break down what we should be going with here. We've reversed roles, and Ben is sharing his screen, and he's dived into the Hold'em resources calculator. So we're going to take a closer look on, in this particular situation, what it is suggesting would be the correct maneuver. So what do you got here? What can you see with this plugin, Ben?
So first of all, as you can see, we have the range for the under the gun player, which is the chip leader, and Nash, which is the theory behind ICM, suggests the under the gun player to go all in with 47.5% of hands. I'm not saying this is the best strategy. It just, if he's doing it with his entire range, he's probably doing money in the long run. Probably not the most possible money, but he's making money. So it is a first orientation point we can hold on to, what under the gun could potentially play from under the gun. So of course he definitely wants to avoid jamming a hand like Jack 3 suited for effectively 18 big blinds, right? He's still quite deep with the blinds. So it is rather break even. But as you can see here, like 47.5% from under the gun, there you can see how wide the under the gun player can actually jam and how wide the ICM impacts are for his stack. And but of course we have the situation that he's open raising, and I think, he has 18 big blinds, so there will be some hands he's jamming with. There will be some hands he's open raising with. So I assumed he is jamming some of the pocket pairs, like 10s to 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s. Like we can also take 10s out, and then he's just jamming 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s. Maybe even 5s, 4s, 3s, deuces. Like this is what most players do when they're chip leader, and I think it is also a really good play. Also, some of it's like ace-10 off, ace-jack off, perhaps like some king-jack suited, ace-9 suited, which are very profitable jams, but you have to raise folded against the jams. So I don't want to take out too many hands because it might falsify the result, but I think overall this is the range I think he would open raise from under the gun. It's around 37%, which I think in his position would be very, very reasonable as being the chip leader. So now if we look for us being on the button, what hands, assuming that he's raise calling his entire range, what can we rejam? And you can see ace-5 suited is slightly negative. But the thing is that the shorter we get, ICM overestimates our stack size. And this tool also has the option to add a future game simulation. And then the more, or let's say the deeper the simulation is, or the wider our ranges will are, or our range will are, because the program or this plugin basically understands that we are in the worst possible situation, namely being the short stack. So right. If you look into one orbit, we have to pay the blinds, the antes, and our situation will be worse, worse, and worse. And that means it understands, okay, dude, now you have to do something. And all these marginal jams will suddenly become profitable, right? So you definitely have to take future game into consideration, because paying the blinds within 2 or 3 hands will be a catastrophe. So for that reason, Ace-5 suited, as I mentioned, I think is a very, very, very good jam here, even though it shows it's slightly minus V. But again, it does not consider future game, our position on the table in terms of like being on the button right now, but one of the next hands we will be in the blinds. It does not take that into account. Hence, the V will be higher in reality. So definitely a really good jam. Like Ace-5, Ace-4 suited are the borderline hands. Ace-3, Ace-2 suited I would probably fold. I would go with Ace-8 off, Ace-7 off, like kind of like King-Queen for sure, King-Queen suited, King-Jack suited for sure, King-10 suited for sure, 6s and 5s probably as well. The point here, and this is really important, this is also something I'm teaching in my course, it's not about like always hitting the exact numbers. As you did in this very hand, you knew Ace-5 suited is fucking borderline. And this, like, if you know that, you're doing so well. Let's say you're in this situation, you're folding Ace-7 suited. I mean, you would have contemplated a bit, but at the end, you would have gotten it in. If you would have folded Ace-7 suited in this situation, you would do a big mistake. And you want to avoid doing these big mistakes. I mean, if you would have folded Ace-5 suited, it's not like that you do a horrible mistake. But you definitely want to make less and less big mistakes. Right. That's all about when it comes to quote-unquote training your ICM fundamentals.
Yeah, this is something that I think is so important because, here I've played poker for 15 years. I want to, I know I'm a winning, solid poker player, but the reality is, how many times are you going to get in a spot at these final tables? Like, this can come down to being your entire month, WCOOP, one run here, one final table. And you don't want to, you want to be as comfortable as you can. And the more you practice, the more you're alert. It's like that. There's going to be standard slight differences. Maybe you make a slight adjustment based on the player, based on the situation, but you want to feel comfortable. You don't want to be there time banking all the way down like, what do I do? You want to know in your mind, okay, this is close, but it's the right play. Or Ace-7 suited. You want to know confidently that that's the right play. You don't want to be there wondering, guessing, I'm just going to pass and fold and wait, because there might not be a better opportunity. And these decisions that are so close can be the difference between a 6th place and a 2nd or 3rd, which is where the money is. So, it's one of those things. Like, this is great because I wasn't 1,000% sure. I was pretty sure, but you can be better. You can improve. And the players, I think you see, like yourself, and with the most success, they've put the hours in. They've done the charts. They've researched. They've studied. They've practiced. They've done different scenarios, and when you come to these spots, you're just more and more comfortable, and the money, you don't even look, you just know the right play, and you go with it. You go with your gut, your heart, your instinct, and I think that's what everyone wants to do, but it takes hard work, and you really have to put the time in to get comfortable in these spots.
Yeah, precisely. And what you can also do is, what I really like about doing ICM spots is that you cannot only look at this for one particular spot. You can also, what you can do is you can change the stack sizes. So you can, for example, give us 14 million and then see what you can get in for when you're the mid stack. So you're not only training your ranges for being in the short stack situation. No, you can only do it for being the mid stack, or even perhaps you can give yourself 25 million as well, like when you're the second in chips. So now you know the ranges for being as a short stack, as a mid stack, and as a big stack. And this is something I always advise to everybody, because then you can see the changes from short stack to mid stack to big stack. And then suddenly your understanding of how ICM works and how ICM impacts your range will completely change. And suddenly you will have this light going up like, yeah, that makes sense. So you don't want to only look at one spot only. You want to look at multiple spots. Change the stack sizes, change the positions, maybe make the payout structure a little bit top heavier, so you can really see the ICM impacts in several spots.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great point. Yeah, you could literally take this one hand and you could manipulate the numbers, the stack sizes, and do a ton of work on just one hand. You can plug it all in because it does take work and holding resources, set up the payouts. As you can see on the right, you say the prize. You're estimating in thousands. You're just not putting all the numbers, but it takes time to set these hands up. So you can really use one hand and make it, do a ton of work with it. So yeah, I think that's interesting. So like right here, what you changed it to say that we had 32 million. And so like that, it's going to completely change the whole entire thing, the whole entire hand really. So
you can also just add one more stack randomly and then just simulate a bubble situation. Let's say you play a 40-man tournament.
Yeah.
Right. You're playing high stakes, or you're playing one of the a tournament with just 50 runner where 6 paid, right? And then you just click finish and you just then it runs. It takes like 20 seconds and then it will deliver you the results, and then check how should you play on a stone cold bubble. There's so many things you can do. You just enter the payout structures once, you add the stack sizes, and then you can play around with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is okay. Yep. So this
we don't need to look at it into more detail because this is not the spot we want to look at, but just to show you how much you can actually do with these kind of tools.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, so yeah, it looks like Ace-5 suited was right on the border, but ultimately with future game considered and all being the shortest stack, I think it just was good enough. And as you see, we did get it in ahead. I mean, we're basically flipping, but we do have the best hand. Ace-5 suited to King-9. Unfortunate time not to hold our slight edge there. But yeah, I mean, it was a good effort. It was 6th place, big field, WCOOP event. And, definitely nothing to be ashamed of getting 6th in that one. And it was a good event, good run. And, we'll take the information, move on, and get better. And we will be doing a series on this, so make sure you stay tuned. Make sure that you're signed up with Raise Your Edge, as well as in Discord. They have a group for Raise Your Edge. I have my own Discord group with the Raise Your Edge folder, and I'm doing a lot of work on my game, and I hope you guys enjoy the hand. We want to thank Ben for taking the time to share his insights on this particular hand, and we will have some more going up on our YouTube channel in the future, so make sure you guys are checking that out. Thanks a lot, Ben.
All right. Enjoyed it. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Thanks. All right, everyone. BenCB789, the online crusher. Many of you do know he is the most winning poker player online over the last 3 years or so. And great dude, great guy, and great insight. So we appreciate that, and we look forward to doing more hands. We'll be checking in a bit with him on some future hands.
It was all a dream, and if you don't know, now you know.